The day we were taken apart. The night of our birth. The rain poured heavily over Atlanta General Hospital on a cold February night in 2006. Thunder rolled across the sky like angry drums, shaking the windows of the maternity ward. Inside room 312, Jasmine Carter lay on a hospital bed, gripping the white sheets tightly as waves of pain rushed through her body. Her husband, Samuel Carter, stood beside her, holding her hand. "Breathe, baby, just breathe," he whispered, his voice trembling. Jasmine squeezed his hand hard. "I'm trying, Samuel. I feel like my body is splitting in two." A nurse rushed in with urgency. "Mrs. Carter, you're about to deliver twins," the nurse said calmly, though her eyes showed concern. Samuel froze. "Twins," he repeated. "We were told one baby." The doctor entered quickly, followed by more medical staff. "Yes, Mr. Carter," the doctor said. "It appears you are having identical twin girls." Jasmine began to cry, partly from pain, partly from shock. Minutes later, cries filled the room. The first baby was born. Then the second. Two beautiful black baby girls, wrapped in pink blankets. Samuel laughed through tears. Two daughters. My God. But something strange happened. A nurse stepped forward and gently took the second baby. "We need to run extra tests," she said quickly. Jasmine frowned weakly. "Why? She looks fine." The nurse avoided eye contact. Hospital procedure. Samuel didn't notice anything wrong at the time. He was too emotional, too overwhelmed with joy. Little did they know, this was the beginning of a painful secret. 3 hours later, Samuel sat beside Jasmine, who was resting but still awake. A nurse walked in carrying only one baby. Jasmine's heart skipped. "Where is my other daughter?" she asked immediately. The nurse forced a smile. There were complications. Unfortunately, one of the twins did not survive. The room went silent. Samuel stood up slowly. What do you mean?" The nurse lowered her head. "I'm very sorry for your loss." Jasmine burst into tears, screaming, "No!" I heard her cry. I heard both of them. She tried to sit up but was too weak. Samuel felt his chest tighten. He looked at the baby in the nurse's arms, one tiny, sleeping girl. They named her Destiny Carter. The hospital told them their other daughter had died shortly after birth. They held a small, quiet funeral a week later. But what they didn't know was this. Their second daughter was alive. And she had been secretly given to another family. Across town, in a luxurious mansion in Buckhead, wealthy businessman Harold Grant sat in his grand living room beside his wife, Vanessa Grant. A woman in scrubs stood before them holding a baby. "This child was abandoned," the woman said carefully. "The birth mother is unable to care for her." Vanessa wiped tears from her eyes. "We've been trying for years," she said softly. "We want her." Harold nodded. "We will raise her as our own." They named the baby Amara Grant. She grew up in wealth, private schools, luxury vacations, designer clothes, and servants. Meanwhile, Destiny Carter grew up in a modest but loving home. Samuel worked long hours as a mechanic. Jasmine later became a nurse, inspired by what she believed was her tragic hospital loss. But deep inside, Jasmine never fully believed her other daughter had died. She felt it in her spirit. Destiny Carter stood in front of the mirror getting ready for school. She had soft brown skin, long braids, and her mother's gentle eyes. "Mom, have you ever wondered what my twin would have been like?" she asked one morning. Jasmine paused while making breakfast. "I think about her every day," she admitted quietly. At the same time, across town, Amara Grant stood in a designer uniform at her elite private school. She was confident, popular, and beautiful, but something felt empty inside her. One day, during a biology class, the teacher announced a DNA ancestry project. Amara swabbed her cheek and sent her sample in. A week later, she received an unexpected result. The message on her screen read, "You have a close biological match. Sibling, 99.9%. Her heart raced. She stared at the name on the screen. Destiny Carter. That night, Amara sat alone in her bedroom, staring at Destiny's social media profile. They looked identical. Same eyes. Same smile. Same dimples. Tears filled her eyes. She typed slowly. "Hi. My name is Amara Grant. I think we might be sisters." On the other side of the city, Destiny's phone buzzed. She opened the message. Her breath caught. She showed it to her mother. Jasmine dropped her phone to the floor. Destiny stared at her phone, reading Amara's message over and over. Her hands began to tremble. "Mom, look at this," she whispered, handing the phone to Jasmine. Jasmine's eyes widened as she saw Amara's picture. The phone nearly slipped from her hands. She felt dizzy. She looks just like you did at her age," Jasmine murmured, tears forming instantly. Samuel walked into the kitchen. "What's going on?" he asked, sensing the tension. Destiny spoke quietly. "A girl online says she might be my sister, my twin." Samuel froze. Jasmine slowly sat down, clutching her chest. "I knew it. I always knew she was alive." That night, no one in the Carter house slept. Destiny kept staring at Amara's pictures, smiling at fancy parties, standing beside luxury cars, wearing expensive clothes. Meanwhile, Amara sat alone in her bedroom, staring at Destiny's photos, simple outfits, family pictures, warm smiles. Two girls. Two worlds. One truth waiting to explode. The next evening, Destiny finally replied. "Hi, I'm Destiny. Why do you think we're sisters?" Amara's heart raced when the message appeared. She typed back quickly. "We did a DNA test for school, and it says you're my sibling. A twin." Destiny's heart pounded so hard she felt sick. She showed her mother. Jasmine took a deep breath. "Call her." Destiny pressed the video call button. Moments later, Amara's face appeared on the screen. They both gasped. They stared at each other in silence. "Same eyes. Same nose. Same smile," Amara whispered. "This is unbelievable." Destiny began to cry. "You look exactly like me." Jasmine leaned into the screen. "Hello, sweetheart," she said softly. "Do you know who your birth mother is?" Amara's face fell. "My parents told me I was adopted, but they never gave details." Samuel stepped forward. "Where were you born?" Amara hesitated. "Atlanta General Hospital." The room went still. Jasmine burst into tears. "That's where I gave birth to you both," she whispered. The next morning, Harold and Vanessa Grant noticed Amara was quiet at breakfast. "Is everything okay?" Vanessa asked gently. Amara stared at them. "Mom, Dad, did you buy me?" The question hit like a bullet. Harold dropped his coffee cup. Vanessa's hands shook. "Where did you hear that?" Amara held up her phone, showing Destiny's picture. "She is my twin. And her parents say she was born at the same hospital as me." Silence filled the room. Harold stood up slowly. "We were told your birth mother abandoned you." Amara's eyes filled with anger. "Or did someone lie?" Vanessa began to cry. "We wanted a child so badly. We trusted the woman who brought you to us." Amara felt torn, love for the parents who raised her, but rage at the secret. She walked away without another word. Jasmine decided to return to Atlanta General Hospital for answers. She walked into the same maternity ward where she had given birth 16 years earlier. Her heart raced as she stood at the reception desk. "I want records from February 2006, twin delivery under Jasmine Carter," she said firmly. The receptionist hesitated. "I'll need authorization," she said nervously. Jasmine's voice shook with pain. "You told me my baby died. I now know she is alive." A nurse nearby overheard and froze. Her face turned pale. She quietly walked away down a hallway. Jasmine didn't know it yet, but that nurse knew everything. That night, an older woman named Nurse Evelyn sat alone in her apartment. She stared at an old photo on her table. 2 newborn twin girls wrapped in pink blankets. Tears filled her eyes. On the back of the photo was a note written years ago. "Forgive me." Her phone suddenly rang. It was an unknown number. She answered slowly. A familiar voice spoke. "Evelyn, they are asking questions." She swallowed hard. "So it begins," she whispered. Nurse Evelyn sat stiffly on her sofa, phone still in her hand. Her heart was racing so fast she could feel it in her throat. A few minutes later, there was a knock at her door. She opened it slowly. A sharply dressed man in his late 50s stood outside, Dr. Leonard Price, the former head of the maternity ward in 2006. His face was tense. "They are back at the hospital asking questions," he said quietly. "Jasmine Carter came in today." Evelyn crossed her arms. "You told me this would never come back." Dr. Price stepped inside and closed the door. "I never imagined a DNA test would connect them," he admitted. "We have to stay aligned." Evelyn's voice trembled. "You took a child from her mother, Leonard. You broke a family." He looked away. "I didn't take her. I placed her in a better life." Evelyn scoffed bitterly. "A better life built on a lie?" Silence filled the room. Finally, Evelyn whispered, "They deserve the truth." Dr. Price stiffened. "If you talk, we both go down." The next weekend, Destiny and Amara agreed to meet in person for the first time. They chose a public park in Atlanta. Jasmine insisted on coming with Destiny. Amara arrived with her mother, Vanessa Grant, nervous but hopeful. When the 2 girls saw each other across the park, they froze. For a moment, neither moved. Then they ran toward each other. They embraced tightly. "I can't believe this is real," Destiny whispered, tears rolling down her face. Amara held her just as tight. "I feel like I've known you my whole life." Jasmine approached slowly, her eyes filled with emotion. She touched Amara's face gently. "My baby," she murmured. Vanessa stepped forward, voice shaky. "We raised her with love. Please know that." Jasmine nodded, struggling not to cry. "I know you did. But she was never meant to be taken." The air between the 2 families was heavy, part warmth, part pain. They sat together at a picnic table. Samuel spoke first. "Amara, do you want to know the truth about your birth?" Amara swallowed. "Yes. I need to know everything." Jasmine took a deep breath and told her the story. The twin birth, the nurse taking one baby, the hospital saying she died. Amara covered her mouth in shock. "They told my parents I was abandoned," she said quietly. "They lied to both families." Vanessa began to cry. "If I had known, I would have never accepted this." Harold Grant joined them later, looking deeply uncomfortable. "I was told this was legal," he said. "I trusted the hospital." Destiny looked at him calmly. "My sister was not a transaction." The tension was clear, but beneath it, a fragile bridge was forming. The next day, Jasmine returned to Atlanta General Hospital, this time with Samuel, Destiny, and a lawyer. They requested full medical records from 2006. A senior administrator tried to delay them. "This case is very old," he said nervously. Jasmine stood firm. "And my daughter is very alive." Suddenly, Nurse Evelyn walked into the room. She looked directly at Jasmine. "I need to speak with you," she said softly. The room fell silent. Jasmine turned to her. "Were you there when I gave birth?" Evelyn nodded slowly. Tears filled her eyes. "Yes, I was." They moved into a private office. Evelyn sat across from Jasmine, trembling. "I didn't want to do it," she began, voice breaking. "But Dr. Price said it was best." Jasmine leaned forward. "Best for who?" Evelyn wiped her tears. "A wealthy couple wanted a child. They had connections. The hospital arranged placements." Samuel slammed his hand on the table. You sold our daughter? Evelyn shook her head quickly. Not sold, transferred. They told me your baby had complications and might not survive. I believed them. Jasmine stared at her in disbelief. Evelyn lowered her head. But I now know she was never in danger. The door suddenly opened. Dr. Leonard Price stood in the doorway, his face pale. Evelyn looked up, horrified. Dr. Leonard Price stepped fully into the room, closing the door behind him. Jasmine stood up slowly, her eyes blazing. You, she said quietly, but with deep anger. You are the one who signed my discharge papers. Dr. Price adjusted his tie, trying to stay calm. Mrs. Carter, this situation is complicated. Samuel laughed bitterly. Complicated? You told us our daughter died. Evelyn sat trembling beside Jasmine. Dr. Price exhaled. There were pressures, powerful people involved. The Grants had been trying for years. The hospital board wanted to help them. Jasmine's voice broke. So you helped them by stealing my child? Silence filled the room. Dr. Price finally whispered. She was never supposed to find out. Jasmine stood tall. Well, she did. At that moment, Destiny and Amara walked into the hallway outside, brought there by the lawyer. They could feel the tension even before they entered. The door opened. Destiny and Amara stepped inside together. Dr. Price froze when he saw them standing side by side, identical, unmistakable. Amara spoke first, her voice shaking. You knew. And you still let me live a lie? Dr. Price swallowed hard. I believed I was giving you a better life. Destiny looked at him firmly. A better life doesn't start with taking someone else's family. Evelyn began to cry openly. I am so sorry. Every night I prayed you were safe. Jasmine walked to Amara and held both girls together. My daughters, she whispered. Separated by greed. The lawyer cleared his throat. This is no longer just a family matter, he said. This is criminal. Dr. Price's face turned pale. By the next morning, the story hit the news. Headline: Twins separated at birth by Atlanta hospital. Family demands justice. Reporters flooded outside the Carter home. Outside the Grant mansion, cameras lined the driveway. Harold Grant stood on the steps and addressed the press. We were deceived, he said firmly. We love our daughter, but we never intended to take another family's child. Inside, Amara sat beside Destiny on the couch. They held hands tightly. Destiny whispered, No matter what happens, you're my sister. Amara nodded. And I'm not going anywhere. The story continues, so make sure you subscribe to this channel to catch the next episode. In our upcoming chapter, you'll finally discover what happened to the nurse and the doctor who took the baby from her mother, and what became of the family who adopted her under false circumstances. This next episode reveals everything you've been waiting for. Don't forget to like, comment, share, and turn on your notification bell so you never miss any of our powerful stories.